Hey, BroMob, we got a great show for you today, but first, I want to remind you about Key to the Title. Key to the Title is a season-long fantasy system that will help you dominate your fantasy leagues. Draft Prep will give you tiered rankings, cheat sheets, insiders lists, tips and advice, and a lot more. After your draft, Season Prep will give you weekly rankings, waiver priorities, start-sit recommendations, and ongoing season advice to help you win that coveted fantasy football championship. Key to the Title goes live this summer, but you can learn more right now by visiting keytothetitle.com.
Yo! Welcome to the show, BroMob. I'm your host, Chad. That's Brian over there. Today is Monday, June 7th. And as always, we got a great show lineup for you. Today we're going to be reviewing the actually incredibly stacked AFC and NFC North divisions. And of course, you're going to have to listen to Brian talk, which is a lose in any category. So, welcome to the show, everybody. We got a good one lined up. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm
Yeah?
I'm looking at a picture right now. I'm looking at a picture on Twitter and while we were in the intro, thank God I was on mute because I probably would have ruined it. It's Chad, I'm gonna send it to you really quick. I just want you to take a look. I don't know if hopefully is it picking up the Skype sounds? But anyway, that's the picture. So just so you guys know what I'm looking at, it's a naked man. It's not the front, it's the back, thank God. But he's running on a golf course. There's two first of all, I just want to point out the people standing here in the front, Chad. This picture. I will put this photo up on Twitter when this episode releases. BroMob. So what's with this couple that's like about to make out? Why are they so intimate?
There's so many questions.
In the corner.
Does
he have a mullet?
He does.
He has a mullet. So
he does.
So here's the things that are going on in this picture. Guy in a green jacket holding a golf club where he has a mullet. It's a blonde mullet. So he looks like Joe Dirt, blonde Joe Dirt. And then there's a naked man who I swear to God he looks like Chris Pratt from behind. Like, that's Chris Pratt naked.
How do you know
and
how someone looks like from behind?
It just looks like it. He's running bare, like literally no socks, no shoes. He's barefoot, naked, running on the golf course. There's a security guard chasing him. And on his back, he has written 19th hole, and he has an arrow pointing to his butt crack. so
just so much.
That's hey, welcome to the 10th episode of Fantasy Football
welcome.
Bros.
Welcome to episode 10.
That's how we roll. This is all we're going to talk about today. We have no football content. Chad told me on the way in. Just going to talk about this dude's butt crack.
We've got this dude. No, we're going to try and call him, see where he's at.
Yeah. Fine. We need to get him as a guest on today's show. So today's show, we need him now, right now.
Yeah, it would be
great.
Get
him on. And get the guy with the mullet, too.
Yeah, I'm going to get my producer. Get that guy on here.
Yeah,
what are you waiting on? What is this?
Get McConaughey. Get him on.
I need
get
TiVo.
Him on the episode. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, man. But other than that, excited. Hey, did you know there's 91 days until football is back? Week 1 kickoff. 91 days away.
Cannot wait. Longest 91 days ever. I swear.
Well, this is the longest stretch of the NFL season, but we're getting close. Training camp's about to start soon. Then we'll get into preseason games.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are going to be drafting their teams in the next 60 days. So we got a lot of really cool stuff coming up. We've got some really cool announcements coming up here in just a bit. Some things to talk about. So
yeah,
a lot of good things.
Yeah, this is a fun time. You know, I was having
fun
earlier today. Went to a dog fest, which is quite literally what it sounds like. It's a festival of which people just bring their dogs.
Oh, I thought it was a hot dog fest. Like,
no, they had hot dogs, ironically. But Yeah, it's just a big old fairground area where people just bring their dogs, and there's an overabundance of them. Sounded like it would be fun. I don't know why. But we showed up. Within the first 10 minutes, chaos pursued, where they had these dogs were chasing. First of all, these are awesome. They have this toilet paper on a string, and then it's like on a motor. And that sucker just jolts across a large area of field. And they have the dogs chase it. And they time that dog. Your dog lost, your dog won. This is how you have fun in the Midwest. So, we're watching.
Did you guys
this.
bring Izzy or no?
No, that would have been more chaos. She would have destroyed half the dogs there. No, so we're watching this because it's entertaining. All of a sudden, just this random dog runs underneath the fencing, gets in there, running amok. It's just causing chaos in there. And then some old lady from about 35 yards comes sprinting as fast as an old lady can, out of breath, gets in there, and she's chasing this dog inside of this ring.
Yeah.
And nobody's helping her. it's just happening. And I'm watching. I'm having a good time. And she's like trying to trick the dog. It's not having it. The dog goes over to the exit finally. People block it. Keep it in. And let chaos just ensue and just let it keep happening. It's like a Thunderdome situation. No holds barred. Let's get this dog. So we pretty much just sat back and watched this happen. Had a good time. And about 15 minutes later, we left because it was there was nothing else going on. It was awful. It smelled
so that was the only thing
it smelled like a farm. It wasn't even a farm though. It was quite literally just dog doo-doo. Dog doo-doo everywhere.
Dog poop.
Dog poop, dog doo-doo. Poo-poo doo-doo. Poo-poo paper.
Poo-doo.
Everywhere.
Dog poo-doo.
All over the place. So it just stank. So we showed up to this place. 25 minutes, Brian. We got out of there. I wasn't having it.
I would have been gone 25 seconds. Goodbye. I would have had a hot dog first, and then I would have been out.
Well, I was promised one of those diving pools, and dogs would be diving into it.
Like the thing you throw the ball at, and the dog falls in the water?
And the dog doesn't fall. He jumps. Or she.
No, I mean like a dunk tank.
He or she jumps. No, it's not like a dunk tank. It's a pool. And it's like a big, long pool, and they jump, and that's what happens. They measure it. It was a terrible time.
Sounded terrible. Well, I spent my day yesterday watching UFC. So last night was last night UFC was UFC 238 pay-per-view, and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time here, but I'm a big lover of UFC, and so usually get the pay-per-view every month. And so this month there was a fight. Valentina I can't speak English. Valentina Shevchenko was fighting Jessica Ai, and she literally so Shevchenko has one heck of a kick, and Jessica dropped her guard. Valentina went up with her kick on the last one, and no guard to the head, literally shin to temple, and Jessica was out, lights out. She just fell backwards, complete knockout. She was out for, I think, a good 3 to 4 minutes. It took them to wake her up, and then they cut to her when she sat up, and you could read her lips. She was like, "I got knocked out." Like she had no idea what had happened, and so it was brutal. One of the most.
All I can imagine is
I've
one of those Rock'em Sock'em robots, where it's like, and the head
not
just
quite the
shoots up in
same.
the air.
Yeah, there was. I thought she detached her head from her body, like she kicked her head across the stadium. It was full contact, full speed. It happened in real time. I literally stood up off the couch and was like, just yelled immediately. Wow. I was like, oh my God, it was really bad. So, man, some really good fights last night. I don't know, BroMob, I don't know if you guys listen or if you're into martial arts or not, but it was a really good pay-per-view. So
Yeah, speaking of fights,
so yeah, that's what
you were just talking to me about a video where there was some sort of a fight. Bit different.
Yeah, it was a little different.
Just explain.
Yeah, so on my way in to record the show, my wife was laughing, so I went out to just say, hey, she knows when we record, it's like, hey, quiet on the set, put your headphones on. So I'm like, what are you laughing at? And she's like, I swear, this is what she tells me. This is why I know I married the right woman. She goes, I was laughing at these two guys. They were farting into microphones and having a fart battle with each other. So, yeah, it's God, I love my household.
She's just watching videos of men farting into microphones.
Yeah, so between her and my dog, it's just constant laughter and entertainment in this house. It's unbelievable. So yeah, that's awesome. It's my Sunday afternoon, guys. Hey,
great time. So BroMob, we have a couple of announcements for you, starting with another giveaway.
Yes, we do.
Brian, you want to get into this?
Yeah, we're giving away to 3 people a free subscription to this year's Key to the Title draft and season-long system. And so there's a couple ways you can enter if you're listening. You can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That's always going to be good to get you one entry into any giveaway that we're doing. And then you can also leave us a review on our website, thefantasyfootballbros.com. That's a great way to get an entry. But there's another way to get an entry this time. And as a matter of fact, if you do this, it's good for not just 1, but 2 entries into the BroMob giveaway. So if you visit jointhebromob.com, that's jointhebromob.com, and you become an official BroMobster, then that will get you 2 entries into our BroMob giveaway this time. So jointhebromob.com is our Patreon website. It's there for you to support our show for just $2 to $5. You can support us if you love what we're doing, you love what we bring to the table each week. In addition to all that, our Patreon website will give you exclusive content, bonus episodes. Automatically, you're entered into every BroMob giveaway. You get a discount on Key to the Title, and there's a lot more. So visit jointhebromob.com and become an official BroMobster. That will get you 2 entries into the drawing.
Yeah, Brian. And then last week, we also mentioned our listener leagues called the Underground League. In these leagues, you'll be playing exclusively with Brian and I, drafting, playing, talking smack, doing everything. It's a fun time. We're really looking forward to it. We got a lot of entries rolling in right now, and we want to make sure that everybody in the BroMob is aware that entries are still open. Go to our website, thefantasyfootballbros.com, click on the link, fill out the entry form, let us know why you think that you got the chops to come in here and play in this listener league with us, and let us know. We'll go ahead and review those, and we'll reach out to everybody accordingly and let you know if you got in or not. So it's going to be a fun time.
Love it. Yep, absolutely. I can't wait. Listener League is going to be one of the most fun things we've done, I think. It's just going to be a blast.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. If you guys aren't, be sure to follow along with us after the show on Twitter at FF Bros Podcast, and then also on our Instagram, also at FF Bros Podcast. Search hashtag BroMob if you're wanting to see any of the history that we got going on.
Searching the hashtag BroMob is going to really you'll see a lot of really great value too. So if you're looking for just some commentary on the upcoming NFL season, just different things, there's a lot of really good stuff on Twitter to definitely search. So I love that hashtag BroMob for searching some of that good content.
All right, Brian, let's get into some news.
Here's the news.
Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz signed a massive 4-year contract for $128 million and $107 million in guaranteed money. Wow, that's a lot of money to be paying that quarterback.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Dak Prescott is like, thank you, Carson Wentz.
He's salivating.
Yeah, Dak's going to get paid a nice big paycheck. Dallas will be smart. I know that they got him for free for another year. It's funny. Jerry has said, and I think Steven also said this, that they want a team-friendly deal from Dak. I think Dak's going to point to Carson Wentz and say, this dude hasn't even been healthy for 2 years, and he just got $128 million. I think Dak's going to stick a fork in Dallas, and I think it'd be hard for Dallas to say no.
What are they going to do otherwise?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, you've put together this defense. You've got all the weapons around him. Especially if he starts off, I mean, if he starts having if he has a good season this year,
yeah,
and then he makes the playoffs and all this, I mean, that's gonna be tough.
They really have no leverage at that point.
Yeah, so Carson Wentz just, I'm sure Jerry and Steven were like throwing stuff around their office when that deal went through. So, but hey, good for Carson Wentz. I mean, the guy hasn't been healthy for 2 years and he got $128 million. I don't know how he did it.
Good for you, big guy. Good agent.
Yep. Yeah.
Well
kidding.
Done.
Jeez.
New England Patriots running back Sony Michel hasn't been to practice since May 20th, which is starting to stir up some speculation around the health of that knee. Man, he's had those knee issues throughout his career, and if he's not showing up to practice, this is a coach, Bill Belichick, who does not like this at all. Someone's not showing up to practice, not learning the offense, they're not out there getting their reps in. He'll find someone else to put in there. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's not outside of the realm of Bill Belichick at all to do so.
And they're very much next man up.
Yeah, and then next man up, I mean, they went and drafted Damian Harris this NFL draft season, and Damian Harris ain't a bad running back. This is a bruiser, someone who can do just about the same things as Sony Michel can. Jacksonville Jaguars have not been seeing a couple of their players showing up to their training camps, Leonard Fournette and D.D. Westbrook. These are two big offensive players that people are looking for. Leonard Fournette to be that stud running back that they could possibly take in the second and third rounds of their fantasy drafts, or the third and fourth rounds of their fantasy drafts, and hopefully get RB1 production out of them. And then also they're looking for D.D. Westbrook to be that steal wide receiver, someone who could sneak into the top 25, 30 wide receivers in the league. And they're taking him later in the draft. And these are two guys that aren't showing up to camps. They're not practicing. It's a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, that's a little, I don't know. There's something about Leonard Fournette's, his demeanor, his mantra. I think he thinks he's a bigger deal than what he really is, because he had that first year, his rookie year. And so, and that team was kind of, the mentality in that locker room was, we're the top dogs after that big year, and everybody's strutting their stuff. And so, hopefully
chest pooch, just walking around.
Chest pooch. They got
the pooch
like a dog hanging off their chest, or
yes,
they got their chest.
They went to the dog festival. They picked up dogs,
fest.
And they got a pooch on their chest. Yes,
it's a great product. Dog, call it a chest pooch. You just it's like a baby holder, but it's for your dog.
It's patent pending.
Patent pending. Do not BroMob. Don't even think about it.
Don't even do it.
Yeah, don't even do it.
Producer McConaughey.
Yeah. Hey,
McConaughey's on it.
Yep, McConaughey's got it. Love it.
He said, all right, in the background.
All right.
He's just writing it down.
One of the.
He's just drawing pictures.
He needs to trademark that.
He does. If he hasn't. If he has, we just said it.
Yeah.
We're hurting.
And we're going to get a letter.
Oops. And then finally, Aaron Rodgers has stated that he would love to throw to Davante Adams even more this coming season. It just further solidifies the fact that this guy's an elite wide receiver. He's a stud, and he should easily go in the first round of fantasy drafts this coming season. I mean, he was one of the top 10 target share recipients already past season. If he's going to get more, Jesus, look out.
Yeah, please do, because I'd like to see that. I think Davante Adams could be the wide receiver one this year, especially if that happens. So,
all right, Brian, let's move forward and let's review the AFC and the NFC North division this coming season.
Judgment time.
It's time to judge them. Let's judge Dread'em.
I need that drop in my life. Like anytime somebody questions me or asks me a question,
they
ask me a question. Yeah, on a conference call. Brian, what do you think? That. Just play that dread drop. Judgment time.
It's the best.
You're not the law.
All right.
I'm the law.
So this week, Brian and I are going to be the law, and we're going to judge the AFC North and the NFC North, kind of what we're thinking player wise and what we're seeing from it. So let's go ahead and get started.
AFC North.
So the AFC North this season is one of the most stacked divisions in football. I don't know if you've seen this, Brian, but
Nope, blind.
I mean, I haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen
There's
anything.
been
I'm
no
blind.
reviewing. I haven't watched a tape at all. So I'm excited to see what you have to say, Chad.
Yeah, please tell me everything.
But I mean, the Browns bring in OBJ. They bring in some defensive help on the line to help Myles Garrett. They bring Kareem Hunt in, who should benefit a bit towards the end of the season. Then you got the Steelers, who, yes, they lost some players, but they retained Ben Roethlisberger, who's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They retained Juju Smith-Schuster, who just continues to show promise every year he's in the league. They keep James Washington, who could be something big this coming season. Brian's just nodding his head off his body. I'm going to come through this computer, I swear.
Oh, man.
And that will be the end of you. This team is still stacked. You're still looking at the Baltimore Ravens as one of the better rushing teams in the league, one of the best defenses in the league. Even though they lost some players, they still bring players in. And then Cincinnati, I mean, they weren't great last season by any means, but they still have a great offense. They improved that defense some during the draft, and I just see lots of improvement all around. So I'm going to start the AFC North off with players that I love.
Hit that drop.
Love.
It's I hate everything about these.
Yep.
It's so deep.
I love them.
Why?
I love to love. I love Lamp.
It's
Lamp.
just too much. Well, I love Nick Chubb this coming season. So Nick Chubb, yes, he's going high in everyone's draft, but this is a guy, Brian, you say it every week almost, I feel like, who's going to be this year's CMC, this year's Christian McCaffrey, who gets taken in the second round and becomes a top 5 player. Nick Chubb is that guy. And here's the thing. Nick Chubb's going at an ADP cost of number 22. So he's going at the back of the second round right now. At the back of the second round, you're finding yourself a running back who averaged 5.1 yards per carry. And he only had 2 games the entire season, or after he took over, I should say, sorry. After he took over the starting job in week 7, he had 2 games with under 10 carries. After that, he was the bell cow. There on out, he had 3 games of over 100 yards rushing, 6 games that were over 80 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns from week 7. I mean, we're looking at a guy who's just a rig. He came in week 7 forward. He was the running back 8 in the league, and he was barely used in the passing game. This coming season, he should get used more in the passing game. Freddie Kitchens, he noticed how well his hands were. He knows he can use them in that passing game. Duke Johnson's still there, yes, but they're going to use Duke Johnson in specialty situations and third down situations every now and again. But Nick Chubb should get a lot of opportunity. People might be a little worried about Kareem Hunt, but here's the thing. Kareem Hunt is suspended for the first 8 games of the season, and they have a bye week 7. So really what that means is that Kareem Hunt ain't coming back till week 10. You got Nick Chubb for 9 games in the season. Put it on the board. Nick Chubb's going to be a top 5 running back. Maybe even better throughout those first 9 games. Go ahead and draft him in the second round. Jump on him a bit if you can. I mean, if you're in the middle of the second round, even if you're at the back end of the second round, you shouldn't feel bad about taking him at all. Take Nick Chubb, be happy, move forward. The second guy I love this coming season, James Washington. I already mentioned him a little bit ago. James Washington has an ADP of 108 right now. So he's going towards the double-digit rounds. Listen, Antonio Brown's gone. Juju Smith-Schuster's not going to catch every single pass that he lost. A lot of people think it's going to be Dante Moncrief. But here's the thing. The team invested a second-round pick in James Washington last season. James Washington actually was number 1 in the league in offensive passing plays per game. Yes, his target share was at 7.1%, but he was on the field for every one of those passing plays that happened. Antonio Brown's gone now. So if he's still on the field for every one of those plays, he's going to get double-digit percentage for target share. And if he gets that, put that on top of his number 5 air target yards at 17.2 yards per target. He's going to do some explosive things. I see him as somebody like a Robbie Anderson, who you can take in the double-digit rounds in the 10th or the 11th round. It's a much cheaper Robbie Anderson on honestly better offense. So taking James Washington, I'm taking Nick Chubb, and I'm happy with both of them.
Yeah, I think those are two really good choices, Chad. So there's two teams or two players in the AFC North that I really like as well. So I'm gonna go with Tyler Boyd as my first one. And I think Tyler Boyd is going to be a steal in a lot of people's drafts this year. Look, this is a guy that had over 1,000 yards receiving last year, 7 touchdowns on the season, 108 targets in the passing game, which is just awesome. And it's just unbelievable. Yeah. If you can get that deeper in the draft, that's fantastic value. And so, look, through the first 8 weeks of the season, Tyler Boyd was a top 12 wide receiver. And that also included A.J. Green being a top 10. So, the argument of, A.J. Green's back, Boyd's not going to be as valuable. That's not true. And if you look at Boyd through the first 8 games of the season, 5 of his first 8 games were double-digit scoring. And we're not talking like just he barely snuck inside the top 10. The lowest output in those double digits was 15.5 points. So Tyler Boyd is definitely somebody that you can get a little later as a solid wide receiver too. I mean, he's a high-end wide receiver too, I think, in this season coming up. And so
yeah, I mean, he's going around after Godwin, and he puts up similar stats.
Yeah, exactly, if not better. And so Godwin last year had 59 receptions, and so I think Boyd's going to outdo that for sure. And so last year Boyd had 76 receptions, and so on 108 targets. So I think for sure Tyler Boyd is going to be a great value pick a little bit deeper in the draft. And then the other guy that I'm going to mention, we talked about him a lot here so far in this podcast, Chad, and I know you love him. He's really grown on me a lot, especially these last couple of weeks. Mark Ingram of the Baltimore Ravens, running back.
Starting to love him.
I really am. And look, I know a lot of people are hating on him, and I've heard some people say, I'm not touching anybody in Baltimore. I shake my head and say, why? And so here's the deal. You guys got to look through the fear of Baltimore. Mark Ingram is the second highest paid offensive player on the Baltimore Ravens. Okay. They didn't pay him to just have him come in and give him the ball half the time. He's going to carry the rock, and he's going to carry it, I think pretty much majorly. Sure, Gus Edwards will get worked in from time to time, and he's going to get some carries. But I think 75+% of the carries are going to Mark Ingram. Yeah. And so here's the deal. If you look at the Baltimore Ravens statistically last year, just rushing statistics, the Baltimore Ravens ran the ball 547 times last year for 2,441 yards and 19 touchdowns as a team. Lamar Jackson accounted for 147 of those 547 carries. He accounted for 695 of the 2,441 yards, and he accounted for 5 of the 19 touchdowns. Okay? That vacates or leaves open 400 carries, 1,700 yards, more than 1,700 actually, and 14 touchdowns. I'm sorry, Mark Ingram is going to have the majority of that, I believe. I think he's going to have 75% of that. I think Mark Ingram is probably going to run the ball 300 times for 1,200 yards and 10 to 12 touchdowns.
But here's the thing, even if he doesn't, let's say he gets 250 carries. It stats him out as a top 12 running back.
Sure,
with 250
100%.
carries. Because he's going to get used in the passing game.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know. I'm really confused at where people are really hating on Mark Ingram. The team, if you look at his salary from what they're paying him, again, second highest paid offensive player, but it's all front loaded. So he gets the majority of that pay in the first 2 years. So, and he's 29 years old. So look, here's the deal. They're gonna pound the living daylights out of him for 2 years, or at least this year, and then they're gonna move on. And that's really what I think we're about to see. And so Mark Ingram is going at the middle of the 4th round with guys like Chris Carson and Phillip Lindsay, Sony Michel. You're not gonna find that anywhere past. I mean, the next person ahead of that would be Kerryon Johnson in the early 4th. So I like Mark Ingram a lot. He's my last AFC North love.
All right, let's talk about our hates a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hate.
I'm
So
deleting
angry.
all of these.
No, do not.
All of these
You leave
deep
them.
voices.
You leave them.
I
Leave
hate
them
them.
put.
Speaking of hate, though, I hate Jarvis Landry this coming season. And here's why.
Yep.
Jarvis Landry is going at a draft position of number 58 in front of players like Tyler Lockett, who is the number 1 receiver on Seattle, Tyler Boyd, who we just mentioned, and Alshon Jeffrey, who's the number 1 wideout on a pretty good offense there in Philadelphia. Jarvis Landry, yes, he's one of those guys. He's gotten a lot of targets in his history. He's caught a lot of balls. But here's the thing. He's never had this many mouths on the same offense, and he's never had a superstar receiver on the other side of him like Odell Beckham Jr. Let's take away OBJ for a second and just talk about the other players that are on this team who pretty much fill the same role as Jarvis Landry. Antonio Callaway, who's a younger player, more explosive, in my opinion. Antonio Callaway is coming out and saying he thinks he's setting his bar high. He's going to catch 1,000. He's going to have 1,000 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns. It's not going to happen. But if he's setting that bar high, that means he wants to. There's some form of talk that he's going to get a lot of offensive play this coming season, and I could see that happening. But here's the player that I really think is going to take away from him: Jarvis Landry, Antonio Callaway, and even OBJ. Rashad Higgins. So Baker Mayfield last season had some really good chemistry with Higgins because they worked on the second team offense back when he was just learning the offense with the team there. And he built chemistry with them during that time. If you're watching OTAs at all with Cleveland, other than OBJ and all these other hype players that they're showing, I see a lot of Baker to Higgins going on. He's throwing these end zone toe tapping catches to him. He's throwing these out routes right next to the out of bounds marker. I mean, Higgins could be a guy who can sneak in there and catch 40 to 50 balls this coming season sneakily. And that's going to eat into what Jarvis Landry does, and that's catch balls mostly. On top of that, Jarvis Landry has always kind of had like an end zone, a high end zone percentage, a high usage around the end zone. OBJ's in town now, and they also got David Njoku, who's an absolute rig at tight end, who's just developing every single second of the day. OBJ's there, and they're going to use him all over the field to confuse defenses because that's the guy you want to throw to. You don't want to throw to Jarvis Landry in the end zone. I don't like Jarvis Landry. Don't take him in the round in the 5th round. No, stay away from him. Take players like Tyler Lockett, Tyler Boyd, Alshon Jeffrey. Hell, I mean, there's running backs in this round that you can take. Next guy that I hate, I'm staying with the Cleveland Browns, Brian. And let me just. I'm going to stop this here. I don't necessarily hate the Cleveland Browns. I don't want people to think this. I think that Cleveland Browns players right now are just so overhyped and they're so expensive that it's just not worth it right now. So Kareem Hunt, let me kind of explain this to you, why they're so expensive. Kareem Hunt's going to miss, as I mentioned before, the first 9 weeks of the season. He won't be eligible to play until week 10 of your fantasy season. Kareem Hunt's going at the 7-11 right now, at the turn of the 7th and the 8th round. People are spending that draft capital on a player who will not play in the NFL until week 10, 3 games before your fantasy playoffs. Picking him could be the reason you miss him because you're not taking high upside players. Let somebody else draft him. Let someone else rot with him because they're going to drop him. There's not many teams that are going to hold him for 10 weeks because you just can't. You have to pick up players to play in your flex and everything like that. So Kareem Hunt, I'm not taking him. I'll take a high upside wide receiver and a running back any day in that position.
Yeah, I mean, here are some of the people that are going around the Kareem Hunt spot, Chad. David Njoku, Dante Pettis, Christian Kirk, Jerick McKinnon, DK Metcalf, Royce Freeman, Marvin Jones. Miles Sanders is just a hair ahead of him at the 708. Will Fuller at the 707. Vance McDonald. I would take any of those guys over him.
Every one of them.
Any of them. Every single one of them. So, yeah, don't fall into that category, BroMob. You'll regret it. You're going to sit a guy on your bench for 9 weeks, and you're going to take him in the 7th? No way. So don't do it. All right, so we'll move on. I'll cover my hates quickly, and then we can get into the NFC, Chad. So I'll piggyback on your Cleveland story because I'm kind of the same. I don't hate Cleveland. I just hate the ADPs. I think a lot of people are just overpaying for Cleveland people with the expectation that they're just going to be the 16-0 New England Patriots this year for some reason. It's just unbelievable to me. So Baker Mayfield is on my hate list. And it's not because I hate Baker. I think he's a fantastic quarterback, and I think he's going to have a bright future in the league. And I think he has a good year this year. His ADP has come down a bit, which is good. That I was very concerned at one point. He was going right behind Patrick Mahomes in as early as the fourth I saw. And so that was ridiculous. He's currently at the 605. I still think it's a round too expensive. And so I really kind of have him right between Drew Brees and Carson Wentz around the seventh, middle of the seventh, early eighth. I think that's kind of where he needs to be. And right now he's in the middle of the sixth. So, look, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, and Drew Brees are coming off the board after Baker Mayfield. I would take all three of them ahead of him. So that's just my general feeling on it. So I'm not a big fan of Baker at the draft price that he's at. And then the other hate I have are basically all Baltimore Ravens wide receivers. So we just got done talking about Mark Ingram and how much I love Ingram. I do think Baltimore is going to pound the living daylights out of the ball this year, just like they did last year at the end of the season. I do think Lamar Jackson will pass a little bit more, and I think you're going to see I think they'll create an offensive passing game around his skill set. So maybe if you're going to target a receiver, maybe the slot receiver, Willie Snead might be a sneaky pick. Towards really deep in the draft. I wouldn't spend a lot of draft capital on him though, quite honestly. But I do think any wide receiver for Baltimore, I'm going to stay away from. I just don't know where to go with that.
Yeah, I mean, nobody does, because here's a question that people legitimately have: who's the starting wide receiver one for that team? Is it Marquise Brown or is it Willie Snead? And the fact that you even have to ask that question makes me want to stay away from that offense so bad. It's not even funny. So, all right, let's move forward. Let's talk about the NFC North here.
NFC North.
Such a good drop. I could start off with this one, Chad. So, you started off with your loves before. I think the NFC is pretty stacked, like the AFC. So you got the Packers, who have brought in a new head coach this year. He's got an offensive-minded scheme. Aaron Rodgers apparently has really taken a liking towards what he's doing and the philosophy, and so they've put a lot of weapons, especially on the defensive side, and they've bulked up that offensive line a little bit this offseason. So the Packers poised to really have a pretty good year. You've got the Minnesota Vikings. So Minnesota, like last year when they finished the season, looking like they're going to have a little bit of a heavier running style of an offense this year. So a lot of concerns as to what that means for the passing with Stefon Diggs and Adam Thielen this year. So we'll see about that, but still a really potent offense that should put up a lot of points and a really good defense. The idea is to run the ball, keep the defense fresh. That's really their philosophy, at least from 2 years ago. And then you got the Chicago Bears, who were the surprise of the NFC North last year. I think for you, pretty much anybody would speak to that.
The Bears.
I think you see, the Bears. They're in the midst of one heck of a kicker competition still, and trying to figure out who that person's going to be. But that defense should still be elite. The offense should still be very entertaining. And so I look for them to be contenders again. And then you've got the Detroit Lions, who have over the last decade really been like the bottom of the division, but they're still a really good team too. Matt Patricia's doing a pretty good job there, putting together his vision of a team. They should be a team that runs the ball, but they did put a lot of offensive weapons. Marvin Jones retires. Marvin Jones returns, and you've got the return of Kerryon Johnson, the addition of tight end TJ Hawkinson in the NFL draft, which was a huge addition for them, and then some key defensive additions as well. So should be a little bit better defense, much better offense. So we'll see what happens there. So with that said, Chad, we'll start with the players we love. So I've got two players that I love, Chad, and then we'll kick it over to you. I will start with the entire Green Bay Packers defense. I think they quite well could be the surprise of the NFC this year. Look, I think the team is kind of hearing Rodgers. He has been complaining for years that the talent around him is not right, the coach isn't right. He's been pointing the finger at everybody but himself, right? And so I think the team finally said, "All right, here's the deal. We're gonna fire Mike McCarthy. We hired a coach that you like. Here you go. Now you got your coach. We're gonna put some offensive weapons around you. You've been complaining about the offensive line. All right, let's fix that." So they added some offensive line help. So they should have a better offensive line, like we said earlier. The defense was a big deal in this year's offseason. They had some people go, so that was, but some aging talent to say the least. But they beefed up the defense with a lot of talent this year. So I think they could be a very sneaky pick for defense this year, especially for matchups. They have a sneaky easy schedule with some spots in there with some pretty good matchups. So I really like the Packers defense this year. And obviously you've got Aaron Rodgers in the offense that's going to put up what should be a lot of points this year. So you're going to have a lot of teams that should be forced to be one-dimensional because of that. And then the other pick I'm going to have is Marvin Jones, wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. And love some Marvin. And last year, he was off to a really good start. Through the first 9 games of the season, he was a low-end wide receiver too. Kind of had his games where he was a little quiet, but he had some pretty good games. Right now, he's going middle to late 8th round. And so I think Marvin Jones, with his return, if you look at it, I think he's going to be kind of the wide receiver 1A, 1 or 1B. I think he and Kenny Golladay are going to be kind of one and the same, and I think they'll each have games. But I really like Marvin, and I think there'll be some good opportunities to play him.
Yeah, I agree, Brian. Mighty Marv's one of those guys that just he constantly is one of those deep threats, and he can kind of blow up and win you a week every now and again. So sticking with the Detroit Lions, a player that I love, Kerryon Johnson. So again, this division stacked offensively too, man. You got teams, the Minnesota Vikings with 3 players in the top 20, the Lions with 2 players in the top 20, and the Packers with 2 players in the top 20. So, I mean, Kerryon Johnson, I love this guy. So this is a guy who can squeak into a top 10 situation for running backs, I think. And the reason why is he was top 3 in the league in yards per carry. The team's planning on running a lot more this coming season. And the reason is because Kerryon Johnson's a great runner. He can be a 3-down horse because, hell, the guy can catch. He's not used in the passing game. So he had 39 targets last season with 32 catches. That was good for 82% catch rate. He only had... what is this? Oh. What hurt Kerryon Johnson last season was the fact that he only had 2 goal line carries. 2. LeGarrette Blount was just eating those up. So they brought C.J. Anderson in, yes, but they're going to use Kerryon Johnson around that goal line a lot more than they did last season. So Kerryon Johnson going in the 3rd round, right around the 4th round turn there. Take him all day. He could be a top 10 running back for you this coming season. The second player that I love, sticking with the Packers too, Brian, Geronimo Allison. So Geronimo Allison in the first 4 weeks of the season was targeted heavily. So weeks 1 through 4, he got 8 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets, and 11 targets. That all went for 2 touchdowns and just about 300 yards receiving. He's going at an ADP of 122 right now in half-point PPR. So, I mean, he's going behind players like Paris Campbell, who's a rookie coming into the league, hasn't proven anything. He's going behind Dion Lewis, who might not even see much of the offensive share this coming season. Carlos Hyde and Devin Singletary, Brian. He's got 3 running backs ahead of him on the offense right now with LaShawn McCoy, Frank Gore, and TJ Yeldon. So Devin Singletary is going ahead of Geronimo Allison, a guy who got targeted heavily with the Green Bay Packers. I love Geronimo Allison. He's got himself a guaranteed position in the slot there with Green Bay. They like to use him. Aaron Rodgers likes him a lot, and they'll go down. They'll throw deep to him too. So Geronimo Allison all day at 122.
Yeah, I love that. I think he's going to be a sneaky A sneaky pick this year for sure. So love me some Geronimo as well. Let's move on to the hates.
Hate.
So I'm going to start it off with NFC North hates. My first pick is, Bear fans won't like this, Allen Robinson. And here's why. So Allen Robinson right now is going in the early 7th round as far as his average ADP. And I don't really get it. So he had a lot of injuries last year, especially late in the season, but he got off. He had a pretty good stretch to start the season, but it wasn't impressive. And I get it. A lot of people are like, oh, well, not Baker, I'm sorry, but Mitchell Trubisky didn't really break out until, a few games in. No, he broke out in the 3rd game of the season. And so the first 2 games were not impressive for Mitch, but that 3rd game, he broke out. So in Allen Robinson's first 6 games of the season, he only had 2 games where he scored double-digit points. And as a matter of fact, if you look at his entire season, he only had 1 game that he scored more than 20 points. Everything else was under 20. So not a lot of really good games. He got targeted, just was overthrown a bunch. I don't know if you can point that to new offensive system, trying to get used to it. And I think a lot of people are like, hey, all right, we've got another year under the current Bears system. Allen Robinson should be more involved, so forth. I think Chicago continues to run the ball a lot of motion, quick passes out of the backfield. And I just think you get a lot of that smoke and mirror stuff, the same as you did last year. And so that for that point, I'm going to stay away from Allen Robinson this year. Another guy I'm going to stay away from, and a lot of people are picking him pretty deep in the draft, so this isn't really too much of a worry, but if you're looking for that deep value tight end, stay away from Jimmy Graham. And here's why. So last year, he really wasn't the guy they hoped he could be. If you look at just his last 8 games of the season, which was post Mike McCarthy era, right? So they had already fired Mike McCarthy at this point. Last 8 games of the season, he had all 8 games points under 10 points. So he didn't score more than 10 points at all to finish the season. 7 of those 8 games, he scored under 5 points. And so not really what you want from a fantasy output from your tight end. You're looking for a little bit more, I would imagine. Look, and then the team spoke in the NFL draft this year when they drafted Jace Sternberger. And so tight end out of the draft. They drafted him in the 3rd round. I think the team was really just sending a message that they realized Jimmy Graham was not the solution to their problems. And I think Jace gets worked in. I think he gets worked in a little bit. And Jimmy Graham, you never know. They may release him. And so, especially in training camp, if they like what they see out of Jace. So stay away from Jimmy Graham. That's my advice to you. So those are my 2 hates.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Packers here, and I'm going to go with Jamal Williams. Is another guy who's going pretty late in drafts, but people are looking at him to kind of be that handcuff to Aaron Jones, and I don't really see it. So throughout his career, he's averaged 3.6 yards per carry. It's mainly because of the fact he's a very predictable runner with, in my eyes, very poor vision. That's why the team went out and they drafted the player Dexter Williams from Notre Dame this coming season, and he could possibly lose his backup job to Dexter. Dexter's a big guy. He's fast. He kind of has the frame of Adrian Peterson. I'm not comparing him in any way, shape, or form in stats or anything like that, but he's got the frame of him, and he's got kind of like the speed and strength side to him as well. So Dexter Williams could step in there and steal that job from Jamal Williams. So Jamal Williams is going around the 170 spot ADP, which is in front of high upside wide receivers, Devontae Parker, Kenny Stills, Dante Moncrief, and John Brown. And then also running backs who have roles with their teams. They're not just backups, but Chris Thompson, Duke Johnson, and C.J. Anderson. 2 of those are passing backs, and the other one's going to get some goal line work. So I'm taking those guys over Jamal Williams every day. And then finally, I'm going back to the Bears, Brian. And Bears fans, you aren't going to like this, but Tariq Cohen, I loved him before the draft. This draft season, the Bears went out and they picked up David Montgomery, who's going to be he's going to have the same type of role as Jordan Howard had. But the thing is, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I see Tariq Cohen kind of sticking with the same role. He'll stay under 200 carries this coming season because David Montgomery, I predict, will have at least 250. So Tariq Cohen might have less carries this coming season, and he might get used less in the passing game because David Montgomery can get used as well. Don't get me wrong, Tariq Cohen is an electric player. He's electrifying. He changes the course of a game. But the thing is, it's those plays that also lose you fantasy games. So one week he might blow up because he has a 93-yard touchdown. So the next week you start the guy and he doesn't do that for you again because he's very inconsistent. So Tariq Cohen is going right around the back of the 4th round into the 5th round. Brian, you've already mentioned it. Mark Ingram is a player that you can take in the 4th round who has a solidified role there. I would not be touching Tariq Cohen this coming season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like those 2 picks, Chad. So, yeah, a lot of couple players to hate in the NFC, but like you said earlier, it was hard to find players to hate in both of these divisions. They're loaded full of talent, and so
yeah, it was really hard.
So I mean, some of it's not even just hating the players; it's really just hating the price of the player, right?
Yep. Well, everybody, that's going to do it for this week's show. Be sure to tune in every Monday and stay up to date on the fantasy football world and to gather any insights on how to dominate your fantasy football league. Be sure to go check out our website and enter for your chance to join our listener league called the Underground League. Click onto the link in our website on our front page and then just go in there and fill out the entry form. We'll go ahead and review that, and we'll be getting back to everybody this coming week.
Yeah, also be sure to check out keytothetitle.com to learn more about our Key to the Title system that we'll be rolling out here this summer. And you can also visit jointhebromob.com and support the podcast by becoming an official BroMobster.
If you aren't on Apple Podcasts, we're also on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever it is that you listen. Follow us on Twitter at FFBrosPodcast and also at our Instagram at FFBrosPodcast. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.